If you want to be an expert in Excel, then you must know lookup functions. Vlookup and Hlookup are one of those lookup functions which help us to extract data from one dataset to another dataset. In this video, we are going to look at lookup functions, that's Vlookup and Hlookup. So first, let's have a look at Vlookup function. The Excel Vlookup function can search for a specific value in an Excel data table and returns the corresponding value from adjacent columns. Hlookup function also works exactly in the same way, except that it looks horizontally rather than vertically. V in Vlookup refers to vertical, and hence Vlookup stands for vertical lookup. To use Vlookup function, we generally need two tables. One is base table, from which we need to look up or extract the value, and second one is result table, where we need to result value or show the extracted value. In Vlookup, base table must be in vertical format. That means the data table will have column headers. The orientation of the result table in Vlookup does not matter. It can be vertical or horizontal. Next rule is lookup value must be in the first column. That means Vlookup function works from left to right. That means it searches the value in the leftmost column of the selected data and returns the value from the right side columns. Next rule is lookup value must be unique. If lookup value is not unique, then Vlookup function will return the result of first matching instance. So these are the rules that we must know before we start using Vlookup function. Now let's have a look at the arguments of Vlookup function. Vlookup function has 4 compulsory arguments, which means that we need to provide values for all of these 4 arguments. The first argument name is lookup_value. It is a common value between base table and result table. Using lookup value, we can extract the data from base table to the result table. Second argument is table array, which is a data range from base table. It is a good practice to log the data range using F4 key that I'm going to show you in the example. Third argument is column index number. Here we need to provide numerical value, or we can also use other function to return the position of the result field. This is going to be the position of extract field or result column in the data range of base table. Last argument is lookup range. Here we need to provide logical value true or false. False means exact match and true means approximate match. We can also use 0 for false and 1 for true. Now let's practically see what Vlookup function is and how it works. Here I have base table where I have fields called employee ID, employee name and department. In the example 1, I have result table where I have employee ID, using which I need to extract employee name from the base table. So here we will start using Vlookup is equal to Vlookup. Now first argument is lookup value, which is going to be an employee ID, comma, next argument is table array, which is going to be a data range from the base table. So we will see our lookup value is in, so we will select data from employee ID to employee name, or you can also select data from employee ID to department as well. You can also select data from headers, or you can select data from values only. So here I select data for the values. Here we need to press F4 key to freeze the data range that we have used. That means we are going to log the cells so that when we drag this formula down or copy paste this formula to another location, those cell reference will not change. Next argument is column index. Now here we need employee name as a result. So the position of employee name in the base table is 2. First field is employee ID and second field is employee name. Hence we will say column index is going to be 2. Comma, range lookup is going to be false for the exact match, and bracket close and enter. Now here we will get the employee name using employee ID. In the example 2, I have again employee IDs and I have extracted employee names using Vlookup function. I already have return the Vlookup function here, but here I can see #na error. That means if lookup value is not available in the base table, then we get #na, which means the lookup field does not contain the lookup value. To convert this #na error, we can use if error function to convert this error into a meaningful text. So we can use if error, and let's take this Vlookup function inside if error. If this Vlookup function returns me #na or any type of error, I want this text instead of error text, not found, bracket close. So here you can see if lookup value is not found, if error function will return text instead of error. In the example number 4, I have another base table where I have employee IDs and employee names, and here in the result table I need to extract employee ID using employee name. If I write is equal to Vlookup, lookup value is going to be employee name, comma, this is the data range that we are going to use as table array. Let's freeze it using F4 key, comma, employee ID is on first position in the base table. So if I write 1, comma, false for the exact match and press enter, I will not get the result and I will get #na error. Why? Because our lookup value, that's employee name, is not in the first column of the base table. Because the rule which says lookup value must be in the first column. As I said before, Vlookup function works from left to right. That means it searches the lookup value in the leftmost column, that means in the first column of the data range. Here, employee name is not found in the first column of this data range, hence we are getting #na error. In the example number 3, I have result table whose orientation is different. It is vertical this time. But as I said, we are always going to focus on the orientation of base table. Now here we will look at the orientation of the base table, which is vertical, and hence we will use Vlookup function. So Vlookup, this is lookup value and this is our data range F4. Department is third field in the data table that we have selected for the table array, and the range lookup is going to be exact match, and let's fill it right. This will work. In the example number 5, I have separate base table where I have again employee ID and their employee names. In the result table, I need to extract employee IDs using employee names. Here I have already used Vlookup function to extract employee ID using employee name. And one thing I have observed that lookup value, that is employee name, is occurring multiple times in the base table. This is the first instance of Rajesh and this is the second instance of employee name Rajesh. If I look at the result table that I have extracted data, and if I look at the employee ID of Rajesh, it says 882966, which is the first instance of Rajesh. That means if lookup value is not unique, Vlookup function will always return the result of first matching instance of the lookup value. Now let's have a look at Hlookup function. We have same rules applied in the Hlookup function as well, except the orientation of the base table here is horizontal instead of vertical. So we will look at the orientation of the base table which will be horizontal, then we will use Hlookup function. If we look at the arguments of Hlookup function, we have same number of arguments, as the only argument changes here is row index number instead of column index number. So let's directly practically use Hlookup function. I have example number 1 where I have employee ID and employee name in the base table, and in the result table I have employee ID and I need to extract employee names. So we will use Hlookup because our base data table orientation is horizontal. Hlookup, lookup value is employee ID and table array is this. Let's freeze this using F4, and the row index number of employee name in the base table is 2. It is on second position in the second row of the base table. So Index number of employee name is 2. It is in second row. And we will use false for the exact match. And let's fill it right. So this is also as simple as VLOOKUP. We just need to provide row index number here instead of column index. Now here this is the base table in the example 2 and this is the result table for the example number 3. In the second example, I have employee IDs and employee names. Now if I look at the orientation of the result table, it is vertical, but we will still use HLOOKUP because the orientation of the base table is horizontal. So is equal to HLOOKUP. Lookup value is employee ID and this is the base table. F4 to freeze this, and the position of employee name is 2, comma, false for the exact match. And let's fill it down. In the example number 3, we have employee name and we want to extract employee ID using employee name. So we will use HLOOKUP because our base table is in horizontal order. HLOOKUP, employee name is our lookup value and this is our base table. F4 to freeze this, comma. Now the row index number for the employee ID is 1 because the employee ID is in the first row of the base table. So 1, comma, false for the exact match. Enter, and here we will get #any error because here also HLOOKUP function works from top to bottom. That means it tries to find lookup value in the first row of the base table, and here our lookup value is employee name, which is not present in the first row of the table we have selected as a table array. So VLOOKUP function tries to find lookup value in the first column and HLOOKUP function tries to find lookup value in the first row of the base table that we have selected as a table array. So I hope you got fair knowledge of VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP functions. Thank you.